Hey there, Board Game Brody here with Let's Staple, where we get games to the table like this one right here. It's Dicey Devices by Origami Whale Games. Players will play as mad scientists, where you'll construct a lab, use your robots and trusty assistant to annihilate the other players. The game uses a plethora of mechanics combined together, but you will be gaining cards to form sets through rolling dice and seeing who has area majority in those activated areas to give them rights to pay for cards, and then add them to their lab that will help you gather more resources, gain more robots, get more scrap to pay for stuff, or really help you get your death ray machine up and running to blast the other players. The last scientist standing is the winner, yet there is no player elimination, as players who are incapacitated can still work on their lab and revive themselves to come back stronger than ever. The game is played in a clockwise manner where you will follow 6 different steps. Each player has their own board with some starting cards placed out there to help you, take some actions here at the beginning of the game. There's a place for your scrap, the money in this game. This is the dice bank, where you can bank dice if you can't or don't want to use them currently in that round. You have bots, where they are these cubes, and they will either be your inactive area here or in your deployable area, meaning you can use them as bots in that area to deploy out to gain more cards to place out here on your board. This is Igor here, your trusted sidekick, and he will do one of 3 different things throughout the game that I'll explain later. And then each player has a player card placed here, and if you become incapacitated, you will flip that card over. On your turn, you will follow these steps. 1. Revive phase. This is skipped if you are alive, like the beginning of the game, but if incapacitated, you will perform this step trying to revive yourself. We will come back to this step. Step 2. Blast phase. This is only done if you have your death ray built, but also if you are incapacitated, you will skip this step as well. And again, I will come back to this step later on as well. Step 3, the lab phase. At the beginning of the game, you will be starting here on your turn. You are going to take your pocket battery and choose a side that you want to use. One side is a bot, which will let you have more cubes to place out to get more cards. The other is scrap, used as a resource to pay for those cards that you will be winning. The battery has to be placed on a section from 1 to 9. This will give you the resource of your choice and make sure that you will be able to activate the card if the battery is placed on a section with a card present. Then you will take 2 dice and roll them. These dice will be used to place on the machine numbers to then activate that card and any other card going to the left. The dice can be placed together to get those higher numbers. They can be placed on 2 separate spots, or can also be banked in your bank slot to be used at another time. When placing on a section, you match the numbers to give you your options. If you have a bot placed in the bank section, you can use that number to either change the value of a die to what you have stored in the bank, or you can add the banked number to the die or the dice to place those dice on a higher section. So really, it will help you with mitigation to use your banked dice the best way that you think you can and give you more options. If you don't have a spot or don't want to use a number right now, you can then assign that die to the bank slot. To do this, you will take an inactive or a deployable bot in this section here and place it in the section matching that number. So again, when assigning dice, you can split the dice, you can combine the dice, you can place 1, both, or none in the lab sections, or both, or 1, or none in the bank slots. And you can use your bank slots with bots already there to adjust your dice by adding to the value or by replacing its value. Now you also have these charge cubes on the side of your board, and each gives you a special action that you can take for using that charge cube and removing it from the section. This section here is the wild shot. With this, you can shoot another player's lab with a chance to destroy one of their cards. And you do not need to have an active death ray set up to do this. So what you do is you choose another player's lab to attack, You roll 2 dice, and the results from the sum of both of those dice determines the section that you hit on their board. If there is a card there, it's destroyed and discarded. If there is no card there, then it is considered a miss. This is the shield. When you are hit with a blast, you can use a cube to defend yourself. When you are hit and you have no shield charge left, then you will become incapacitated. This is the battery. When using a charge cube here, you will use any card in your lab for its ability, but it has to be a card that has not already been used in your lab phase already. Step 4, the collection phase. Those dice that you already rolled, now you take them and place them in the corresponding scrapyard sections in the middle of the board. Those sectors are now activated, meaning whoever has area majority will have the option to pay for the current card there. If you happen to have rolled doubles when you do this, only one section will be activated. But you will now also place a sector modifier in that sector, which will say, have a new rule of making that sector a little bit more unique than all the others. Then, starting with the lowest numbered sector that has a die on it, it gets activated. You will determine who has the most bots in that sector, and they will choose to either buy a card, paying the scrap shown on the top right of that card, or instead they can decide to gain 1 scrap instead. The player with the second most bots in that sector will then take the action that the other player with the most bots did not choose. So if the first player decides to forego buying the card and picks 1 scrap, then you, as the second most highest player there, you can try to get the card by paying scrap to get that card. Now, when collecting a card, you will pay your scrap and then bring your new card and place it into the leftmost empty space of any row that you choose on your board. These cards can be moved around during cleanup as well, but sometimes you will want to place them in certain color cards next to similar colored cards, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. After collecting a card, or if you decide to gain 1 scrap instead, whichever you choose, you will bring back a bot or Igor if present in that sector. Your bot goes into the inactive bot space, and Igor will be placed back on Igor's perch. Step 5, deployment phase. You now can deploy your bots in your deployable bot space to any sector of the scrapyard, but doing so by following this rule. You may deploy bots into a sector only if you are able to have dominance, meaning the highest number of bot count in that sector by placing your bots and or Igor there. I will explain Igor, but he is worth a 0.5 point in dominance, and he doesn't have to follow the deployment rule neither. He can be put anywhere you want. Now, you have to have cards that will let you move, hack, place, swap, or do other types of movement with your bots that do not have to follow the deployment rule, but those activate in step 3 when activating that card. But when initially placing out bots, you have to follow this deployment rule. But again, you can place out your bots as long as you become the dominant player in that sector. Igor, your trusty sidekick. He can help you in 3 different ways. He can be left on his perch on your board, and if so, you can re-roll the dice once deciding if you want to re-roll 1 or both dice during the lab phase. If you deploy him to Scrap Summit in the middle of the scrapyard board, you will immediately gain 1 scrap. He will stay out there until your deployment phase is over. And lastly, you can place him out in one of the scrapyard sectors without needing to follow the deployment rules, and he will count as half of a bot of dominance. If collecting a card from a sector with Igor, then you'll be able to move him back to his perch after collecting your card. Your last step is the cleanup step. Yep, that's right. You will replace empty cards from the slots in the scrapyard. If any of these cards say when drawn, you will perform these effects now. The active player token is then passed to the next player on the left, and they will start their turn. While they start their turn, you are able to swap positions of any 2 cards in your lab sections. And if you have used your prototype card enough times, placing charges on them when using it, then you will see if it gets upgraded and be able to flip that card over. Now, when it's your turn and you have your Death Ray built, then you can perform step 2, the blast phase. To know if you can perform this step, if you have any cubes on your set card, in fact, you will be managing this card by placing and removing cubes on it whenever you have formed a set, including when you lose a card and you no longer have that set anymore, then you need to take that off. But you will need one of the sets shown on that card to use your Death Ray. You do this by collecting certain cards from the scrapyard, and whenever you have 3 of the same colors, then you place a cube on that set. Again, with 4 of the same color, with 4 devices of different colors, and then 5 devices of different colors. By having more sets, you'll be able to use your Death Ray gun more often, gaining more blasts to shoot the other opponents. During this phase, you will have the opportunity to incapacitate other players with your Death Ray. The number of sets you have determines the number of blasts you have and your blast power and how many modules that you can have. So first, the number of blasts. This is, again, the number of sets that you have. Each blast can have the same or different target from the last blast. The blast power, this is also then determined by the number of sets that you have, with more sets having a more powerful blast. With 1 set, you will roll 1d6. With 2 sets, you will have 2 separate blasts rolling 2d6s. You will only count the higher dice in each blast. With 3 sets, you will use the nuke die, which is a d12, and you will use this for all of your blasts. This will give you higher numbers. With the atom symbol, if that goes, it counts as 2 unblockable hits. You will designate a player as a target and point your Death Ray toward them, and if you have any madness cubes, you can use them at this time as well. I'll explain those here soon. The attacker rolls according to their sets, and the target gets to roll 1d6 in defense. If the player who is attacking, if their roll is higher than the target's die of defense, the defender can use a shield to defend, and if they have no more shields, then they are hit and incapacitated. The incapacitated player will flip over their character card and place their Igor meeple on the operating circle. If the dice results are a tie, then players will re-roll. And if your roll is lower than the defender, then you miss the target and you gain 1 madness cube. Now, the madness cube is used when you select your target or after you are selected as a target. They will add 1+ to the result of the roll that you rolled, not exceeding 6. You can also use a Death Ray module at any time during this phase. Once you place a cube on your set card, you're able to hold a module card. And for each set that you have, you can hold an additional module. These will help you to use your Death Ray better on your turn. Shooting other players with your Death Ray is the goal of the game, so try to get cards to gain sets, and then use your Death Gun to shoot all the other players down. If you happen to be the player who gets incapacitated, then you will perform phase 1, the revive phase, at the beginning of your turn. And when you are incapacitated, you cannot deploy Igor or operate your Death Ray. But you can take all the other actions, phases 3 through 6. But first, let's try to revive you. Igor is in the operating circle, and he is your trusty sidekick. You will roll 2d6s, and if they are doubles, then you are revived automatically. If you don't get doubles, then you will have to pay 6 scrap, and doing so will revive you if you have it. Now, if not, you will continue with phases 3 through 6. Now, if you do pay the 6 scrap, and then you are revived, and you continue into the blast phase if you have your own Death Ray. Or, of course, if you don't have, 6 scrap and you don't roll doubles, you'll want to get scrap on your next turn so that you can revive yourself on your next turn. The game ends when every player is incapacitated except for 1, and that scientist becomes the winner. So you should know that Also, you can gain Igor blueprints that will give you a leg ups, somehow in the game. If you've positioned 3 of the same colored cards, any card in a single row or column in your lab, then you will choose to take the Igor blueprint of that color or not, and you will now only be able to hold 1 of those at a time. You will experience different cards. Basic device cards will give you an action when activated, but if another card of the same color is orthogonally adjacent to it, then you gain its combo effect. Some cards have when acquired, and when you will gain what it states, but the card doesn't activate in your lab, but acts as, a color for sets. Augment cards change your battery, shield, or wild shot actions instead of the normal actions. You will have the choice to do this new action with one of your charge cubes if you would like. Advanced device cards that have stars on them, they deepen engagement between players and open opportunities for more strategy. If it says tip, you will rotate 90 degrees when used. To reactivate it, you will need to place a die or a pocket battery on it to untip it. Wild devices will help you with sets, but has no ability on them. Event cards will come out and say, when drawn or when acquired. Special device cards do something unique, but are one-time use cards as well. And, well, that's Dicey Devices. It's a fun game of racing to build your death ray. Try to conquer all the other scientists. You get to roll dice, you get to gather resources, you have your own player board, but also a shared board with area majority on it. You want to form sets with your colored cards. You want to use your cards to take the best actions possible. Again, there is no player elimination in this game, so you always have a chance to revive. You will also have some falls here and there, but the player who gets their death ray gun up and has the best system with their cards will most likely end up winning this game. The turns aren't too long for each player. You'll be skipping some steps here and there many times, so you are not needing to do them like, when at the beginning of the game you won't do the revive or the blast phase. Module cards will make your blasting easier and more successful, but you need sets to get more of those as well. The blend of mechanics makes this game more complex. You have choices, you have to bank your dice to, have a better turn in the future. Bots will be important, but more importantly, they might be more important where you place them out to know what cards that you get in return. Again, there are dice involved in the game, so you will have to determine, some choices and how and what to do with those choices, but there are ways to do actions that you really want or gain resources that you really need. The components look amazing in this prototype version for the game, so I anticipate they will be great components in the final version. The game is for 1 to 4 players, plays in about an hour to an hour and a half, and is recommended for players ages 14 and up, just because, some of the layering and added complexity to this game. We have enjoyed it thus far. You will need to play it a couple times to kind of, see the bigger picture and kind of understand, wrap your head around it, but it might be worth doing so, definitely. Again, this is Brody with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table like this one, Dicey Devices by Origami Well Games. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are working hard to bring to you videos like this one so you know if these games here are ones that you want to get to your own table.